side to side, so give yourself enough room. Good afternoon, welcome to Intermediate Advanced Pilates. We've got on the agenda from last week, kind of progressing on with this idea of flow and strength and how our energy can facilitate movement in our body, and also how our emotions can affect how we want to move or how we like to move each day. And can we bring a little bit of balance between stuff that's very flowing and stuff that's very strong, and kind of come to the middle where we can be able to do a little bit of both. So as we did last time, we're going to kind of progress some of these sequences. Some of the sequences will be a little bit different, but some will be the same. So those of you that have done it before will find some familiarity. And to allow yourself today to stay with the flow, we're going to start flowing. And then if you feel that the strong really serves you, keep going with that. If you feel you want to go back to the flow at any time, then just go there. Okay, so just really see what serves your body today. So we've done some releasing around parts that feel sticky for you. So if you're just tuning in right now and you haven't done any of that, then maybe just have a few little areas that you want to unstick before the session. So just coming into balance with your feet, rocking a little bit towards the toes, back towards the heels. Just checking in with how your body's feeling right now. Is it feeling crooked? Is it feeling tight? Is it feeling quite flowing and relaxed? Is it feeling tired? Is it feeling energized? Just have a little moment as you rock back and forth, just to feel your alignment, feel your energy, and feel what your body feels. And then just do a little bit of side to side swaying. So just shifting your weight from one leg to the other, but taking your body with it. So nice and easy. And just maybe see for yourself, does one side give a little bit more than the other? Does one side feel stronger than the other? Kind of feel that energy level. Maybe how far you're leaning to one side versus the other. And could you try and balance it out so that you sway just as much to one side? What does that feel like to just take it that little bit further? And then maybe there's an ease in the other side. So I can feel that my right side really gives, but my left side kind of gets a bit stuck. So I'm just gonna try and sway a little bit more over that way. And then just do a really gentle rotation. So what I want you to feel is that your ankles spiral, your knees stay really stable, your femurs spiral, so one out, one in. So I'm going to the right, so the right femur is going to spiral out. Then I want you to be really stable through your low back, spiral up through your upper back, and then a little bit more stability in through the neck and a little bit of the head and the eyes turning. So just see how that feels. And then as you come back to center, you should feel like you almost kind of drop down a little bit. So you should feel like you spiral up. So ankles slightly spirals. There's an inward and an outward. Knees are stable. Femur spiral, that's always a little bit tricky, especially if you're a little bit stuck in the hips. And then low back is stable. Upper back rotates. And then the head. So do that again, maybe slightly quicker. And just see how the spiral feels. Maybe how far your head turns versus the other side. How the ankles, the hips, are you doing a lot in your knees and your low back? So that definitely feels stiffer for me. So do that one more time. Feeling that spiral. So my shoulders are almost going vertical on this side. And don't push yourself, okay, just feel. Okay, then I want you to take a nice reach up. We did this before. Take a nice breath in, feel the front of you stretching, and then let the back of you stretch from underneath your feet, over the back of your legs, over your bum, low back. Go to where it feels comfortable, okay? If it doesn't feel good to go all the way down, just feel how much of your back body is allowing that stretch, and how much of your front body is allowing this lift. Okay, if it feels a little bit tight in the shoulders, just notice that. Try not to push it, but just feel the elastic of you And then feel the elastic of you as you bend forward. Right from underneath the foot, over the hamstrings, calves, and low back. That already felt a little bit better. And opening through the front of the hips, the thighs, the belly, underneath the armpits, maybe even your jaw. So it feels a little bit tight today in my jaw. And then opening back the back of the body. And then roll back up. So as we do with these sequences, you can stay with that flow of going up and down. You can come into a little bit more energy. So we go up and chop, up and chop. You go as low as you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable with that, stay with the flow. In. You can even add a rise. If you can at the top, rise up onto those toes. If you're doing it flowing, you can try it as well. It's a little bit more challenging. 2, 1, and then release. Lovely. While we're here, let's do our little warrior. Actually, no, we'll do our Tai Chi. So we had a little bit of a wider stance. Now I was watching people in the studio this week. We're doing a little bit of this. And it was really interesting how the push and the pull, how some people were really emphasizing the push, which we're going to start with, which is a nice, slow push. And I like to keep the arms a little bit bent, so it never feels like the arms are extending, it's kind of coming from the trunk. So there's a little sway onto the one side and just gently push like we're doing a nice, slow Tai Chi class. And you might feel, hopefully, some elastic feeling in your inner thighs. So you decide how wide those legs go, pushing your water across. And then we started to bring in a pull. So you lean over to the one leg, reach that way, pull the energy back in. Sway over to the one side and try and stay on your heel side as you do this, okay? So the energy is still kind of back into the back. Now you can add both. Push, pull. Push, pull. Let's take it fast. Ha, ha. Push, pull. Push, pull. Stay in the heels. Fast or slow, whatever feels good. Emphasize the one you need more, the push or the pull. 2, 1. And if you were in the strong, maybe just do a few flows just to come out of that. And then come back up. Lovely. Bring the feet a little bit closer together. We did this one for side bending. So I'm trying to get all the movement patterns of the upper back and then as much of the movement patterns as we can with the legs. So we're going to go into a little squat. We're going to imagine we've got a big heavy weight on our backs. Okay, maybe carrying a sack of rice or something like that, or we've got some heavy soil that we're ready to put in the garden, whatever that feels. But I want you to feel the weight on your shoulder, theoretically, physically, weight back in the heels, and then you're going to reach up one arm into a little side lift. And I say side lift because I want it to feel like you're going light and you're going up. So there's a heaviness down and a lightness up. So weight on your shoulder, weight in the heel, weight through the pelvis. Feel like your organs are sinking down. And then a lightness through the pelvis as you come up. Now make sure this is a side bend and not a rotation. So imagine anchoring the outside edge of your foot and coming up through the outer line of your body on the side. Okay, so stay with that. We added a nice little flow to finish that sequence, and then coming back up. So weight on the shoulder, light into the reach side bend, continue reaching the arm forward and around the front of you, bend the knees, and then roll back up through the middle, okay? So you can stay with that if you like, reaching over, we'll do that one more time each side, around, bend the knees, roll back up. So a really good stretch for those QLs on the side of you, and down, reach, but if you're feeling a little bit tender today, then don't do the round. You know, good for you. I'm definitely feeling like I need the energy on this one. So now, we make it a bit more energetic with both arms reaching. Down into the squat, reach both arms over to that corner diagonal, side bending still, stay with the flow, or use your breath. So even the breath is more energetic. And 2, and 1. If you want to keep going a few more, if you want to finish with a little flow, that's cool. So we're also getting the heart rate going, hopefully. Okay, 1 foot forward bent, 1 leg knee bent, not foot bent. Back leg long, but I want you to feel like you're pushing your carpet or your mat apart. So the front leg is pushing forward, the back leg is pressing back. Try and have a long position but not overstretched, okay? So there's energy in both legs. And like the flow at the beginning, we're gonna reach up through the upper body, through the front body, and then come down. And just pull the hands kind of to your hips. As you do that, I want you to kind of draw in the belly so you can feel the deep abdominals just hugging in. You'll probably feel a lot of work on that front glute. So lift, little tilt of the pelvis. I want to feel the elastic up the hip. So I want you guys to feel that. If you can, you might need to soften the knee slightly to get the pelvis up, and then you can feel that and flow. Burst it up, feeling the front of you open, nice and confident. There's kind of an air of here I am in the room, ready to tackle the world. And ready, you know it's coming, some of you. And in, sharp, reach and pull. Reach and pull, challenging that balance. Notice what you have to connect with. Few more, go back to the flow if you need to. 2, 1, I feel like 1 more. Whew. And the bum is on fire. We like it. We did lots of bum work last week in the studio as well. So Nicola's probably feeling the after effects of this. Okay, so let's go to the other side. Have a moment here, find your balance. Ball of the foot on that back leg. I meant to say that before. So it's not a flat foot, it is a ball of the foot. That's going to challenge when we pick up the pace a little bit here. Okay? Pushing the mat apart. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, flow down. So I can already feel my balance isn't as great on this side. I feel a little bit wibbly. So if that's you, that's cool. Just stay kind of connected, but not tensioned, yeah? So there's a level where we want to be elastic and stable at the same time. That's the goal. Elastic and stable, not tensioned and not too floppy. Okay, let's do 1 more flow, and then we'll go into the energetic push and pull, or stay with the flow. Here we go, up, down, reach down. Feel where the elastic is, way more challenging on this side. Woo! I'm gonna push through it. 2, 1, do an extra 1 or 2 if you want. Whoa! And just come back to center. I feel like my calves are working. So just do a little kind of walking calf. What we might do is do a little walking down dog in a moment. So we're adding a little new one here in standing. I wanted to add a little bit of rotation. So we've done a bit of that spiraling where we want the idea of kind of coming up when we spiral, but we're going to add a little step. So I want you to step forward with your right, and the first one is a flow. So we're just going to sweep the arms around and rotate the arms to the right as you step forward the right. And then as you step back behind, you're going to rotate the arms to the left. So it's kind of like your Tai Chi where you want to feel the flow of the air as you rotate, but I want you to feel, if you feel that you're just doing it with your arms, then maybe take your hands to your shoulders and make sure you are rotating the trunk and not your low back, okay? So the low back doesn't move, and then you step back, the right behind the left, woo! Balance challenge, especially going on and off the mat, and then rotate, okay? Sometimes it's nice to actually do it at the shoulders and then let the arms flow. So I can come up to the shoulders, rotate, let the arms flow down. Come up to the shoulders, rotate, and then let the arms come down. So just making sure that it's not just your arms flopping and the body isn't. So let's do it more like that if you're not sure. So to the shoulders as I step, and then I continue to rotate, let the arms kind of fall down. So we'll just do 2 more of those. We're just on the right. This whole time we're still going to do it on the left. Step back, that feels nice. Okay, now with the sharp one, we want to kind of think like we're going for a walk, but we're dragging back the heel as we step. So we're going to go ha, okay, like we're stopping in space, pulling that heel back, and then kind of a strong runner position, and ha, strong back. Strong forward, pull the carpet back, strong back. So your front leg pulls to stop you. Ha, ha. Harder going back, forward makes sense. This one's harder. You go at a pace that works for you, or stay with that flow. 2 more. And then release. Good, good. Okay, so now we're going to step the left foot forward. This is our last standing one, okay? Woo, my calf really felt that last one. Okay, so let's do the flow. We step on the left, we turn the shoulders to the left, let the arms flow, step back, hands to the shoulders, and rotate. When you step back, keep the ball of the foot on so that your weight is on that front leg. So as I step forward the left, the right heel comes off, flow the arms, step back, turn the shoulders, flow the arms. So you're always rotating to your front leg, okay? So think your boobs or your chest turns towards your front leg, and then just flow the arms. So if you're still coordinating that, stay with that. It's quite nice, both of these little versions, okay? And then if you're going with me, stepping left foot, right arm, hook, and back. So we stop. It's like we're decelerating. Ha! I accelerate and then I stop. Make sure it's not going into your low back so you don't twist too far on this one. It's really sharp dynamic. 2, 1. Ooh, that felt nice. Okay, let's come on down to all fours. We'll do a little bit of some down dog calf peddlings. That was a lot of balance work. Okay, so as we said last week in the all fours, you want to really feel that you're in the elastic of yourself. So you're not muscled and super strong, intense. There's kind of a softness, but again, it's not a floppiness. So it's really feeling, are your joints sitting in the tissue of yourself? Okay, especially through the elbows and wrists. So they're sitting in the tissue. The palm of your hand is never flat. Feel even where your pelvis is it too sharp into hyperextension? Is it too sharp into flexion? Can you find that middle? Feel also your knees, your legs, your feet. If you can tuck under your feet, this will be much easier. If not, you might have to go against a wall or a couch to try and feel this. Or you might have to do this against the wall standing, okay? I'll show you that when I kind of get up there. So if your toes are able to tuck under, we're going to hinge back the pelvis. And then you're going to push the mat forward as your heels go back. Keep the knees a little bit bent. Keep reaching the heels back. Okay? Now, if you can keep the pelvis neutral and straighten the legs, great. But what often happens is when the legs straighten, the spine starts to curve. So I want to focus on you guys keeping it neutral. And then we're just going to pedal reaching the heels back, getting a little bit of calves, especially on the left. Maybe do 4 to 6 of them before the blood rushes to your head, and then come back and rest the wrists. Okay, so if you're not happy doing that down dog for wrists or for toes, just go against a wall, send your pelvis backwards, knees slightly bent, and then getting that nice little hamstring stretch. And if you want to, then you can reach the calves back, or doing a little soleil stretch is quite good, where you just bend the knees to the wall. So you could do a little hamstring, and then a little soleil stretch to the wall where you bend the knees forward. Okay? So let's do that one more time. So hinging back the hips, nice elastic quality. Tuck the toes, reach the heels back. Keep the knees a little bit bent. Okay, so notice where your pelvis is in space. Is it tucked down or your shoulders rounded? Or are you in that neutral? And reach the heels back. So the back of the heel reaches into your Achilles. Maybe 4 to 6. When you feel it's enough for your wrists. And then come down and relax it back. Wrist a lot of the time is just that we can press too much down onto the wrist instead of feeling like we're lifting out of the wrist. Feel free to do this with your hands like on a chair or a couch for this next one, not too high, you can, or a little bench, and that'll take some of the pressure off the wrists. Okay, so we're going to do a little Superman flow, so you can rest your feet wherever. So the flow is coming in elbow to knee, and then reaching, think of the front body, opening up, and reaching the arm and the leg away, but just as long as you don't disconnect from your tummy and you don't hyperextend. So we're trying to elongate the front body from the front of the arm, through the trunk, through the hip especially, and through the front of the thigh. And then I want you to feel the back body diagonal and stretching. So from the shoulder blade to the bum. And it's quite hard on the wrist when you do it slow, so we're not going to do too many of those. Maybe one more. But feel the back of your shoulder and cross into the opposite bum. Really stretching kind of that back body. And then out stretching the front body. So that's about it for my wrists on that side. Okay, take a moment and do the flow on the other side. So feel the back cross diagonal. So we didn't do this last day. And the front diagonal. These are very important slings on our body, the cross. So think there's an X across your body, along the back of you and along the front of you. From kind of chest to opposite hip and from bum to opposite shoulder blade. So that's 3. I can definitely do more on this side, so I don't know if you noticed it. I'm not going to do it because I want to be balanced. But if you notice that one cross diagonal could actually fatigue a little bit quicker, just kind of notice that. You might want to try and challenge the other side to do more. Okay, so let's go back to the first arm if you remember. Now this is going to be a little bit more challenging because we're going to do it stronger, sharper. We've got to really know where we are in space. Feel free to do the flow if you want. Okay, so I'm going to touch out, try and do 5, touch out, reach. So I'm not going super high. I'm just trying to really hit that position. Elbow to knee up, tummy strong. 3, sorry I did more. 2, and 1. Woo! That really worked actually my upper body on the other side, but in a very different way than it felt less wristy actually. So I don't know if you guys felt that. Okay, so just make sure when you do this one, you're not flinging the leg too high. I'm trying to just reach it almost out in line with the bum, and arm not too high either, okay? So it doesn't become kind of a hyperextension. Okay, flow if you want to on that other side, or come with me, take a nice deep breath. In, out, find space. 2 more, and then release. That felt quite nice, that one. So those are some of the new ones from last week. Take a moment before you lie down, just to feel how that felt in your body. Do you feel nice and warm, nice and energized? Do you feel like you've moved quite a lot of your system before we kind of come down? I think that's quite important. You know, mat work is done on the floor, and we start on the floor, which seems counterproductive, that I'm lying in a cold state on the floor. I almost want to warm up my system and then come down to here where we can be nice and solid and stable. So let's get our body ready. And just take a moment to find your neutral. How this feels here being kind of static on the ground. Let your shoulders go nice and wide and feel even the back of the pelvis going nice and wide. And then just starting to roll elastically into your 6 and your 12. So rolling down to the base of the spine, rolling up towards the low back. So feel the tissue of the front of you elongate. Maybe get a bit of breath into the belly. And exhale, melt. So you're almost elongating the back of the body a little bit to bring the pelvis towards the mat. So we're elongating the front. I often think of my rectus abdominis here from my bottom ribs to your pubic bone, and even just like having your hands there so that this top hand kind of pulls up and the bottom hand pushes down. I've got my hand kind of on my pubic bone. And then I'm going to let go of that and almost feel from the back of the body this lovely little scoop. Kind of the back of the head lengthening all the way down to the sacrum. So the sacrum feels like it scoops under and lengthens. Okay, so rectus abdominis length as we go forward to 6, feeling the breath into the belly. And then feel long and open. It's not a pressing feeling. It's almost like you're melting into a hammock. Okay? Feel like you're in a hammock right now. Your neck is just like leaning into the curve of the hammock, and your tail is in the other curve. And if your legs were up, you'd be in a nice banana shape. So it's not forceful. Inhale, then your hammock is going the other way. It's upside down now. And exhale, melt. Just imagine that hammock and your back not pressing into it, but just sinking and melting all the way up to the head. And then come back to neutral. Now think of that hammock a little bit as you interlace your hands behind your head. Okay? So you know the top of the hammock starts to curve up, right? We've got the pelvis and the low back just kind of hanging out there. They're having a happy holiday in the sun. And I want you to imagine your head lengthening along that curve of the hammock. And we're just going to come up just elastically. So see how much your upper back moves. And then just have a wiggle with your shoulder blades. And see if you can walk up a little bit more into flexion. And maybe give your breastbone a little bit of a sigh. And your ribs a little bit of a sigh. And your belly a little bit of a sigh. And then roll down. So that's just help me come up a little bit further, see if that does it for you. Be very careful that it isn't the neck going more forward, that it's your upper body trying to give a little bit more, okay? So what we'll do, get those elbows angled so you can really hold your head. So the first thing is thinking of our hammock, okay? So we're coming up the angle of the hammock with the head. We're just kind of resting in that scooped. Maybe imagine your legs are out in the hammock. And then wiggle the shoulder blades a little bit off the ground on each side. So I come up a little bit higher on the back. Then melt the breastbone side, melt the ribs side, melt the belly, and I've come up a little bit further. And it feels like I've worked through the front and not strained through the back. The back is allowing this to happen. So do that one more time. Feel up your hammock with your head. So elongating the back, that's about as far as I can go without straining. Walk the shoulder blades. Melt the breastbone. Sigh the ribs. Stick out your tongue if you need to. And lower back down. Remember that feeling, okay, because we're going to layer this exercise. So let's work with the legs a little bit here. Let's come into tabletop, but just on one leg, just letting the leg arc into the hip. Let it be really free. Okay, so I want you to try and each time you take that leg into the pattern, that you strip off a layer of muscle. You've stripped off your quads. You've stripped off your hamstrings. Woo, the leg suddenly feels lighter. You've stripped off all the tissue of your inner thigh. Your bum has come off. So really what's left is just the rotation of your leg and your hip. Okay, so just should be that ball and socket. Okay, try it on the other side. So it might start heavy and sticky. It might feel like, oh, really labored. Take the quads off. They're the big heavy creatures in the brain's mind. Take the hamstrings off so they don't weigh anything back here. Take the inner thigh, throw it on the floor. You've seen that video with Robbie Williams back in the day where he strips off all his muscles and all his skin of it, and he's left with a skeleton. Bum, side of the leg, so really nice and loose. Okay, try and have that feeling as both legs come to tabletop and sinking those legs into the wide base of your pelvis. Now, we're grounded here in the pelvis. It's really stable. It's strong. It's not pressing, but it's really heavy and grounded and stable. Okay, start with, this is our flow. So the legs are feeling light and beautiful and delicate, and the rotation is in the hips. Now, you might not take the leg all the way down, okay, but I'm trying to keep the legs really, really light and feather-like, and keeping the center of my pelvis really secure on the mat, so you feel really stable. Okay? So just do one more on each side. And then release back down. Okay, let's take it into the arms. Make sure you do have a head block behind your head here for these ones, if you normally use it. Okay, so arms, we're going to do a little circle. So arms overhead and circle around. I want you to imagine you're in water. So the thumbs are going to go to the floor, but you're feeling a little bit of your own resistance, especially as you come around here. It's like you're pushing the waves into your sides. Inhale up and exhale over, whatever breath serves you. But it shouldn't feel like floppy and nothing, okay? I want you to stay connected to your back and really feel the elastic of your movement. Go the other way if you want for a few, and then I'm pushing the waves over here. So circle out to the side. So the arms are slightly hovered on the side above the mat. They don't graze the mat, okay? Because actually I don't have to work there. So coming up and around. Okay, so let's float to tabletop. We got a couple parts here, okay? So we're gonna hold the legs. We're gonna think of our hammock. We're gonna peel up. Now at any time you can drop the head and just do the arms and the legs. We're gonna do a circle, reaching the arm over and then circle around. So as the leg goes forward, single leg stretch, the arms are gonna reach. Notice how they don't go back that far. If I'm on the floor, even I don't go that far. And then circle around. So if you'd rather have your head on the floor, that is totally cool. So we're gonna push the waves in. One more, circle, and back in. And then just take a little rest, drop your head down. So you can stay with that, just doing a really nice coordination of arms and leg. You can have your head up or head down for that. It's totally up to you. Okay, so the flow is a little bit stronger, and there's a choice to do double legs. You can stay with singles. So we're going to curl up the head. Think of our hammock. Let's breathe. Ha, 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 coming up. So double leg in or single leg in. Reach and in. Reach, circle, push. Reach and in. Reach that leg or both. 3, 2, 1. And roll down. Woo. And reach overhead. Stretch to the front of you for a moment on the ground. Feel how you can connect to the mat with the whole of the back of you. So the back of the arm, that's quite challenging, the back of the shoulder, the back of your pelvis, that's a bit tricky when the legs are long, the back of the calves, maybe we can feel. Okay, and I want you to reach the arms like we did, pushing the water, roll the head coming up through your hammock, and sit yourself up nice and tall. Hopefully we got there. Okay, let's go on our side. We didn't do this last day, but I think this is a really nice way to work through the legs and then really challenge our stability after. Okay, so we're going to start with the flow with bent legs, and we're going to feel the mobility of the hips first, and then we're going to challenge the stability of the system on the sideline. So make sure you're not going to hit anything forward or back, okay? So we're going to start with the long top leg. The bottom leg is bent, and actually just being in this position where the outer body is really opening up, that's nice. Okay, now again, we want to have this balance between the leg being really floppy and it being really tight and strong. So as you lift the leg, I want you to feel like you've got a hollow leg. Okay, so it's light, it's bony. Again, we're kind of stripped of all the muscle, but the elastic around yourself is kind of connecting it there. And then we're going to stretch, dorsiflex, bring the leg forward. So we feel a little bit of the elastic in the hamstring. Then you're going to bend your knee in and then reach that leg a little bit back and a little bit up. So I'm just slightly higher than my hip when I come back. But then when you go forward, I want it to come a little bit more parallel to your hip. So you're in hip flexion. Bend the knee like a bicycle and reach it back, although you don't stretch your leg in a bicycle. So I go straight leg kick, bent knee, and then reach it back just slightly higher. I'm not going too far behind so that the low back stays still. Now, be conscious of your pelvis. Can you go forward, bend, and stretch without your pelvis moving position? This hand is really important on the floor. It's giving you some stability. Let's do 2 more of these. And reach. So straight leg kick, feel the hamstrings, bend the knee, and reach it back. Take a little breather. So as always, you can stay with that option if that serves you better. For this one, we're going to take the feet slightly forward, and both legs are now going to be back out straight. And anchoring with energy, the bottom foot in dorsiflexion. So I'm kind of just balanced on the baby toe side. Okay, we're also going to challenge it a little bit with the arm in the air. Now, if that's too much for you, bring the arm down, okay? So now I want you to lift still, hollow leg, and we're going to keep the leg straight. I'm going to kick forward and back, kick forward and back. I'm not going as big, and it's a little bit faster. You can even add an arm, so it pulls back when the leg goes forward. Ha! See how much you can have the dynamic speed without losing control. Whoa, that's hard. 3, 2, slow it down if you need to. 1, woo, and I can feel all those little stabilizers in the hip. Especially if you were doing the second set of the flow, you probably felt your bum as well. Okay, and that's the beauty of both of those. It's not one is wrong and one is right, or one is better than the other. They are just what they are, and we can benefit from both of those. Okay, so start with bent knees. Feel where your head needs to be, if it needs to be balanced, or sometimes having the arms straight with a little pillow or a towel underneath your head. Okay, so just get yourself comfortable. It doesn't feel as comfortable on this side for me. Okay, we're going to lengthen the top leg, but keep the bottom leg bent. Have a moment there. That might feel different on that side, even just letting that leg drop. Try and lift the leg with lightness, like a hollow leg, really beautifully connecting. out, and then we go kicking forward, feeling the hamstrings underneath, bend the knee, and you'll probably feel your bottom side hip is super energized from the other side. So bent bicycle, reach a little bit higher than hip height. Feel like you're meeting a wall behind you, so it's not placid back there. Straight leg kick, bent knee as it folds through, reaching behind slightly higher. Forward kick, bend the knee, and reach. Let's do one more of those. Forward kick. This side's very different. Reach it back, and then release it down. Have a little breather. Stay with that for a second round. Or come with me with your legs straight, slightly in front of your hips. So I'm forward of the mat where I am. Arm up if you can handle it. Float, hollow, kick forward, hit back. So when we do these little strong, the range of movement is a little bit less. So I don't want to kick so far that I lose the control. If you need the mat, that's fine. If you want to add kind of a forward and back of the arm, slow it down if you need to, or quicken it up and challenge it. 2, 1, and release. Very nice. We're going to come into our front. We're going to do some swans. So we do the flowy swan, we do the articulating swan, and then we're going to do our kind of stronger, more challenging swan. So hands under the head, wiggle the pelvis, get the sacrum free, get the quads, the front of the thighs, and weight of tension. And then just starting with the legs, Nicola. Don't let your body go yet. Sliding the legs up on each side. And feeling the pelvis move, the hips flex. The toe, the big toe, pushing into the ground, kind of the under part of the big toe, so that you can push forward on the mat with that energy. Rotate, push. Okay, now we can start to look over the shoulder. So we rotate, crawl, look. Notice right now if it feels different on sides. How far can you look over the one way versus the other? That side's very stuck. That side feels free. You can come up a little bit higher onto the hands if you like. So you can start to kind of prop yourself up to really look over that shoulder. One more of each. And then come back to center. And you can have your hands in grasshopper or W if that feels better. But let's try a little grasshopper today. So the elbows are up. And I want you to feel how much you can move your spine without effort first. How much you can peel the upper back out and up, tongue at the roof of the mouth. And then about midway through your back, you should then be feeling the arms have to work a little bit. If you feel you want a little bit of a spiral, wiggle side to get yourself up. And just make sure you have space in your hips, that you're not sinking in your hips here. And then come along the mat so you feel your pubic bone, your navel, your rib cage, your chest, and then your nose. Okay, if you don't want to go up that high, that's totally cool. But I do want you to feel elastic here. As you go forward, feel the elastic of the front of you, from the front of your feet, all the way up the front of your thighs, through your hips. So I can go to there elastically, and then it starts to feel muscle. But even in that muscle, I'm trying to stay still elastic through the front. The only thing that's really working hard is my arms to kind of push myself up. But everything else feels quite quiet, but nice, but strong. Okay? If that doesn't feel good, you can try the W, and you can even go and come up one side looking over. That can feel really nice. So go where really you feel the most elastic for yourself, the most freedom in your movement. And if that's down here today, and that's just a little bit of looking over and you start feeling strained if you go too high, then stay with that today, okay? Really important. And then just come into a shell. Now last day we did a little W kind of hold. So this is more of a kind of challenging plank position, but it really strengthens your thoracic spine. So that last one was more of a mobility one. This one's more of kind of a strengthening one. So it does challenge the shoulders more. It should challenge the core more, but we're up for a challenge, okay? So we're not going to do many of them. We're going to go into the W position. This time we have the toes tucked under so that we can press into the knees, okay? So make sure your hands are level with your ears. They're not further forward, because if the arms are too high up, it's not going to feel very nice, okay? So we press into the toes just a little bit, but you're going to send the knees down into the ground so that the hips come up, okay? So there's a space here that you can stick your hand under. You want to tilt your pelvis to 12. So pubic bone to navel, hips to ribs. Try and gather your bottom ribs and then see if you can hover out, lengthening your upper back, shoulder blades gently coming together. So try to lengthen my low back and my neck. And then relax back down. So it's not a big height, but I want you guys to really make sure you are in a posterior tilt. Because when the hips come up, they will go anterior. You need to go posterior. Collect the ribs, lengthen. Okay, try not to depress the shoulders either, because that will pop the ribs out. So it's more of a retraction. Okay, let's try again. Toes tucked, knees press, lift the hips. So we're in anterior tilt. We're going to tilt to posterior. Sacrum lengthen. Hug and gather those ribs. Lengthen out. Feel the shoulders aren't depressed. They're coming lightly together. Feel the core, feel the upper back. And then release back down. Woo. And one more time. Press into the knees, lift the hips, tilt the pelvis, and elongate. So I'm just coming up a little bit so that the spine is kind of in neutral, almost like I'm in a plank. Lengthen the neck and low back, and then release it down. Felt actually a little bit better today. Okay, now I want to do a nice little, because we didn't get time to do this little sequence in between. And then I want to come back to an even harder swan than that, where you'll have the choice to go into the articulation swan, into the kind of the first stage swan, or you can come with me on the third one. But we're going to do a little intermission for the back, okay? So I love this one. This is very playful if you allow it, okay? I think the thing with these little rolling like balls and rolling over is there's an element of fear, and also the brain thinks I can't do this. So I want you to go into your 4-year-old self, and I want you to take away your Pilates hat, put it on the floor, okay? We don't need to pull and squeeze and tense or anything. I just want you to hold yourself in a bowl, okay? So your legs are here, and sometimes when we are in a ball, we're kind of in a straight position. So again, allow yourself to go into that imaginary hammock behind you. Okay, so your pelvis is like tucked under. So you're just holding that shape, but there's not a lot of energy. You're in the elastic of your back. Okay? And then we roll and come back up. Now I'm allowing the pelvis to come off by putting my hands down. But I'm trying not to be forceful. So I'm not pushing myself back. I'm just letting the momentum take me there. And that feels quite nice. Whee! Even if you do that to yourself, you go whee! Whee! It's nice. One more. And then release wherever it feels, okay? So that's really kind of allowing momentum and flow. If you were really working with that and it didn't feel very flowy, stay with that. And see if you can kind of let go of your belly. Because actually if I hold my belly in, I do that, okay? So I actually want you to focus on the curve of yourself and try and feel the elastic. If you hold your belly too strong, you will go down like a plank, okay? So let's try and be a little bit more dynamic by taking our hands here or stay with the flow, okay? And I'm just gonna keep the shape up, little rolling like a ball. So really, in this shape, I connect my deep abdominals gently in to initiate the rock, but other than that, I'm just staying in my shape. One more. And then release. Yeah, you did good. So in the second one, there is a little bit more of a connection, but it's still not strong. Because if I hold it too strong, I'll just go planky plank. Okay, guys, let's see if we can do this. This one looks like not a lot, but it's quite hard. Okay, so you can go with the flow, the spiraling coming up, the nice, beautiful swan. You can go into the hover one. So I'm trusting you guys to challenge it where you need to go, or to take it down where you need to go as well, okay? That's really important. So we have a grasshopper position again, but we're gonna combine the flowing with the strong plank. Okay, so we're gonna have the hands here in grasshopper, elbows up. We're gonna tuck the toes under. You're gonna press into the knees to lift the hips up. Tilt the pelvis to 12. Now, I want you to try and go forward and up without disconnecting your ribs or your 12. So it's only gonna be a little pre-swan, shoulder blades coming together, oh la 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 la. And then release down. So you'll know you've gone too far. It feels like it's shortening your back. Okay, that means you've lost your belly or you're tilted the pelvis, or you've gone too hard. It just feels too strained on your shoulders. It is going to be a challenge, but let those shoulder blades kind of come together on your back. They're not shoving down. If you shove down your shoulder blades, you are going to go into the low back. Okay, so I'm almost letting the shoulders open and come around together. Okay? Let's try at least one more if we can get two in, let's see. So you can go back to here, hovering and just holding, or go back to the flow. So elbows up if you're with me. Press into the knees, lift the hips. Tilt pubic bone to navel. Really feel that connection. Hugging up your bottom ribs. Then the shoulder blades kind of wrap around into retraction. I'm trying to send the breastbone forward and up. It's really, really hard. Oh! And I keep losing the pelvis a little bit, so watch that for yourself, okay? Go on the last one with what you need. If you feel you almost got there, go for that. If you feel like you just need to finish with a nice flowing one, that's fine. If you're still challenging that kind of midway one, go for that. I'm gonna try one more here. Tilt the pelvis, ribs, shoulder blades kind of come together quite high. Tongue at the roof of the mouth. Just a little bit of that chest bursting forward. Holy moly. Hopefully you felt what I felt. Whew. We're going to finish with Sue, because I remember Sue last week saying she felt really solid in her plank at the end, which is what we finished with. So let's make it feel solid, everyone. Now we've done so much shoulder, you might be fatigued, so keep that in mind. We're going to go into all fours, knees slightly back. We're going to get into our elastic. We're going to feel all those energized things we felt with the shoulders, through our core, through our legs. And you're going to send those legs back nice and strong, connected, through the middle, all the way through, right to the head, strong feet. Lift the hips. You still there? You still there? You want to go into that plank one more time? And then we'll finish in standing, coming up, walking those hands to the feet, rolling up nicely to the top. And then just go with what you want to finish. A little bit of rotation, a little bit side bend, a little bit of hips. Maybe you just want to stand and just appreciate where you are. And just feel the connection you felt today. And take a final breath wherever you are. Not for life, but just for now. Awesome. Hope that felt okay.